Well, hello guys, it is that time once again for another edition of Odds and Ends, where I read you some really weird news stories from all over the world, and hey, they don't call it Odds and Ends for a reason, you know? Yes, I know I am very, very far behind with my Odds and Ends, but I still have all my sources, so more than one, right here. And what I was thinking of doing as of today, since I'm so far behind, I'm going to be doing two versions of Odds and Ends in one Odds and Ends video instead of doing one at a time, because I don't want to be uploading 5 videos all at once, because that's just going to be a nightmare, and my computer just sucks in general. So I'm going to be doing two variations of Odds and Ends in this video and in the next one, because I'm so far behind. But this one and the next one that I'm about to do are about almost a month old, so we'll just put it at that. But you know, let's get it done, out of the way, and over with. So let's get to these stories, shall we? Now, our first story comes out of Swaziland, where an African nation of Swaziland is allegedly getting tough on witches, banning them from flying at an altitude of above 150 meters, or about 500 feet. Anyone caught operating a broomstick above the legal limit could face arrest and a fine of R500,000 or 53,100. I have no idea what their currency is. Quote, a witch on a broomstick should not fly above the limit. Civil Aviation Authority Marketing and Corporate Affairs Director Sabelo Dalamini was quoted as saying in the to the Star newspaper, quote, it's difficult to say how tongue-in-cheek the newly drafted law really is, but black magic is taken seriously in Swaziland. Last year, a leading Swazi MP called for a hike in the taxes paid by witch doctors to help ease the country's financial crisis. Wow. These guys are really hardcore about black magic and all this other nonsense. So, it's illegal to fly on a broomstick above 150 meters or 500 feet. Okay. I think somebody's a little, just a little, not a whole lot, but a little. Moving on to our next story, which comes out of Russia, where on the negative side, the Russian town of Videovo will be without hot water during the summer months due to the local fuel deaths from the winter months. On the plus side, free water slides for everybody. According to the report in the Moscow Times, Mayor Sergei Dubovoy told Murmansky Governor Mariana Kovtun that the 5,771 residents of Videovo would have to do without hot water this summer. By the way of compensation, though, all residents will be allowed to visit the local Friga water park for free. Quote, you have a great water park, Kovtun reportedly said. Many Murmansk residents envy you. The Friga Water Park website boasts 2 water slides and a, quote, American pool. Normally, the park charges 200 rubles, or $6 per hour. Hell yeah, I would take up on that. Are you kidding me? Free water slides for everybody, all to make up for the fact that they're not going to have any hot water for the summer? I would take up on that. Are you kidding me? Hell yeah. Moving on to our next story, which comes out of Wisconsin, where a man called police in the town of Baraboo to complain about all the noise his neighbors were making. His neighbors? A bunch of fornicating frogs. According to Baraboo's News Republic, this latest incident marked the second time this month someone has called police to complain about, quote, loud music coming from the home of Debbie and Jeff Alsip. Responding officers found the actual parties to be a group of Morris amphibians in the Alsip's koi pond. Every spring this happens, Debbie Alsip told the newspaper. It has woke us up before, if we have our windows open. When Officer Mike Pitchler arrived at the Alsip home on Sunday, May 12th, he found about a dozen frogs gathered at the backyard pond. He reportedly witnessed a couple of them, quote, developing large bulges in their throats as they croaked to one another, and spotted one pair engaging in acts of sexual congress. Quote, you don't see that many frogs at one time unless they're mating, said Alsip. The officer told the neighbor that the disturbance was frog-related, but the neighbor felt that the Alsips should evict the amphibian fornicators. Quote, "I don't know how I'm encouraging them," said Alsip regarding his neighbor's complaints. Quote, "If he thinks I'm going to catch them and take them out, he's crazy." Neither the homeowners nor the frogs were cited. Yeah, so every spring frogs croak. Why do you have so many frogs? Number one, I guess because you love frogs or something involving amphibians and you're not going to get rid of them. Number two, for the neighbor who lives there, you are screwed and you have to put up with this for the longest time. And trust me, you should be getting used to it by now if you're complaining about this. And I'm sure if they're used to it, you should be getting used to it. That's all I'm going to say. Moving on to our final story, which comes out of North Carolina, where a family of 4 was spotted walking naked down Province Road in Charlotte, reportedly causing traffic delays on the afternoon of Saturday, May 11th. Quote, "Like freshly born baby naked." Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Captain Rod Farley told the Charlotte Observer. Quote, "This was Adam and Eve stuff, not even a loincloth." When police stopped the 40-year-old mother, her 20-something daughter, a toddler, and a newborn baby, the woman said, quote, "The Lord told them to get naked and walk down the street." Police transported all four to Presbyterian Matthews Hospital, where the adults were physically and mentally evaluated. Quote, "It didn't appear that they had any problems that they didn't had it didn't appear that they had any problems that they didn't have any clothes on," Farley said. A report of child neglect was filed and the Department of Social Services was contacted, but it is not clear whether additional charges will be filed. So let me get this straight. You were told to do this because you said, quote unquote, "The Lord told them to get naked and walk down the street." Obviously, someone is crazy up here and you have 20-something daughter and a toddler and a newborn baby. Obviously, those two, the toddler and the baby, are going to get screwed, are going to get taken over by Child Services, and you aren't going to get them back. So, way to go, Mom. Way to think that one through. So, now that we have that one out of the way, let's get to the second edition of Odds and Ends, shall we? If I can find it. So, give me 1 second. Ah, here we go. Okay, so, part 2. So, let's get to it. Our first story comes out of Spain, where police in the tiny Mediterranean town of Artena say a 56-year-old woman who was reportedly beaten and robbed at her son's bar made up the entire story. According to the Think Spain, the woman told investigators she was cleaning up the bar when 2 men broke in, attacked her, and took 2 days' worth of profits. Inconsistencies in the woman's story made local police suspicious, and she eventually confessed to fabricating the story. Turns out she stole the $1,032 from the business and promptly lost it all in the bar's slot machine. The woman was arrested and charged with simulating a crime for financial gain. Really? You really think that you're going to make up a story and because you spent $1,032 on the bar's slot machine, you think you're going to get that money back? You could have just asked your son, but I'm pretty sure he has no access to that machine, number one. Number two, why would you drop that much money on a slot machine? I mean, really? That's just stupid. I mean, Jesus. And you end up getting arrested, and you are charged with simulating a crime for financial gain. You're not going to get anything except jail time and a lot of money to someone to bail your ass out. That's all I'm going to say. Moving on to our next story, which comes out of England, where Tim Blackburn, 50, of Stockton-on-Tees, spent 6 years waiting for his broken arm to mend. The day after his final treatment, he tripped over a dog and broke it again. Blackburn originally broke his right arm when he fell off a ladder in 2007. The break was so serious, doctors had to remove 4 inches of bone and attach a metal scaffold around the arm. Earlier this month, Blackburn told England's The Sun newspaper his arm was finally healed using a new ultrasound treatment. Unfortunately, the day after his final ultrasound treatment, he tripped over Jackson, his 2-year-old Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and fell down the stairs. Quote, "It snapped like a twig and the pain was excruciating." I couldn't believe I had done it again, said Blackburn. Quote, if I didn't laugh about all of it, I'd cry. Blackburn is scheduled for a whole new round of surgeries on his newly broken arm. All I have to say is watch where you step, because otherwise this is going to happen. Obviously, his dog got in the way. He should have been more cautious, and he wasn't, and he broke his arm again after he first broke it back in 2007. So it's been over 6 years since he's had his arm fixed up, and now he's going to have to get it done again. I feel sorry for this guy, especially with all the money he has to do, especially for medical bills and all that other stuff. I feel very sorry for this guy. Moving on to our next story, which comes out of India, where an 11-member panel of teachers and professors is under fire for forgetting to include the northeastern Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh in a new geography textbook. The panel was officially disbanded by the Maharashtra State Board of Secondary and Higher Secondary Education for leaving the state, which borders Bhutan, Myanmar, and the People's Republic of China off maps. Officials with the Education Department were deeply embarrassed several weeks ago when it emerged the crucial border region was missing from new textbooks. By the time the error was caught, around 650,000 copies of the textbooks had already been sold. The Education Department ordered stickers indicating Arunachal Pradesh's location added to maps in the nearly 1 million copies of the textbooks still unsold. Several former board members admitted their mistake in writing and offered no challenge to their firing. State Board Chairman Sujadhyo Jahav told the Mumbai Mirror that those responsible could face stiffer penalties. Quote, the error is an embarrassment to the board. The show caused notice to ask the members to provide an explanation as to why they should be separated legal action. Once all board members have responded, the board's legal team will look into the responses and recommend further action. So, if anybody's to blame, I would blame the textbook and the fact that most people don't really keep up with current events, especially with the whole geography of new lands and territories and all this other stuff. I would blame them mostly because they didn't include it in the book in the first time, so blame them if anybody's to blame. That's all I'm going to say. Moving on to our next story, which comes out of Michigan, where 3 members of Yelipsi City Council, or Yelipsinati City Council, have abstained from voting on a measure that would have prevented them from abstaining from votes. AnnArbor.com reports the City Council member Pete Murdoch proposed a resolution earlier this month that would have required councilors to vote yes or no on issues presented to them, unless a financial or professional conflict is involved. But Mayor Paul Schreiber and council members Susan Mueller and Brian Robb simply restrained the voting on the abstinence bill. But thanks to their abstinence, the bill failed, with 1 council member voting yes and 2 others voting no. Since they abstained from voting an anti-abstinence bill, the abstaining city council members can continue to abstain. That's a mouthful, number 1. Number 2, take that all in. So, I really don't get involved in politics and all this other nonsense, but I don't care. That's all I'm going to say, because this is way too much for me to digest, and half this stuff I don't even know, to be quite honest. So, you guys can decide on whether it's crazy or if it's the right thing to do. But anyways, we're moving on to our final story of this segment from Florida, where veterinarians in the Tampa Bay area operated on a 17-year-old tiger on May 22nd, removing a 4-pound hairball from the oversized cat's stomach. The tiger, named Ty, is cared for by Wildlife Rescue and Rehabilitation in Seminole. When caretakers noticed he wasn't eating for a couple of weeks, they brought him in for a checkup. Doctors used a scope with a camera and detached a soccer ball-sized obstruction in Ty's stomach. Though hairballs are common in cats of all sizes, this one was too large for the 400-pound animal to hack up. Vets in the Tampa Bay County community of Clearwater safely removed the giant wad of hair and say Ty is recovering well from his surgery. Wow. Well, now you know that cats get hairballs too, especially the larger cats like tigers and all them, but Jesus Christ, the size of a soccer ball in his stomach? How the hell does that happen? That's what I want to know, but at least they got it out of his system, and at least he's doing well, so good for them and good for him. I'm glad he's doing well. But anyways, guys, that is it for this very special segmented edition of Odds and Ends, and I really hoped you guys enjoyed that long anticipated wait of these crazy stories, and as much as I like reading them to you guys, and I promise you, very soon, I will be back on schedule. But with this whole crazy-ish coming up this week, it may set me back a little bit, but other than that, I will be back on schedule very, very shortly. So anyways, guys, that is it, and we will see you guys later, and take it easy.